Good afternoon, all. Let you all know this is being recorded, and big thanks to CitA. This is one of the May events for the Technology Trend Series with a focus on drones. A big thanks to all the sponsors, and we're covering here in this series the technologies that are transforming the construction industry. Vinny Quinn is my name. I'm from Evercam Construction Cameras. We've had a sort of cameras are the core of our business here. We've seen massive changes in how people communicate on with technology on construction sites, and cameras are a really interesting part of it. When we started filming construction sites, we thought we were in the business of marketing. We thought we were building marketing, tools for recording construction sites. It became evident really quickly that we weren't. We were in the productivity communications. We were into dispute resolution. We were into transparency. And yes, a part of that was marketing, but a big part of it was producing the right image at the right time to tell the person who needs the information what's happening. And that brings us on to this area of drones. It's the area of construction is you have to do what you say you're going to do, and you have to be able to clearly show that it has been done. And the cameras, where we've seen the technology changes, is cameras broadly falling into sort of three categories. In the fixed position, always on camera, which was traditionally kind of CCTV type camera, and is very much the space that Evercam is in. And then you have the sort of mobile and 360 cameras, which are generally like in your hand, walk around with them, photograph what you need to photograph, and increasingly they're becoming more like a 360 camera, which is just phenomenal, lovely technology. And then the third wheel of that being the drone, which is just this phenomenal, powerful tool for getting an overview of huge areas of the site. And I think when chatting to the speakers beforehand, a big theme here is that very often people take on drones, whether it's from a construction side or developer side, with one thing in mind of what job it's going to do. And from the beginning, that has just changed immensely, that whether the job was originally going to be just surveying or just marketing or just communications, that now it's becoming a massive part of the toolbox of managing a construction site. So our speakers today are Wayne Floyd, Wayne's the Chief Drone Instructor for SIS, Survey Drones Ireland. We have Kim Gersvang, who's the Process and Innovation Manager with NCC Denmark, and Stephen Foley, who's the head of the bid department in Collen. And I'll introduce Wayne first, who's going to speak for a bit on what you need to know about drones in construction. And if you want to add questions during this, we'll get to them after Wayne has spoken. Wayne has flown and trained. He's flown drones and trained pilots for the Defence Forces, for Murphy Surveys. He's working with a number of major contractors and developers. And I will hand over to him now. Thank you, Wayne.
Thanks, Vinny. How are you? My name is Wayne Floyd. My background has been flying drones since 2007. And I went on, then left them, joined Murphy Surveys, and now I teach people how to fly drones primarily, not just, let's say, with the not just the training aspect and the classroom aspect of it, but we also do the practical training as well. So look, what I'm going to talk about is drones in the construction industry. What we've found over the time of, let's say, talking to construction companies about what their intention to look at, and then what they actually end up with. Because the biggest problem I have is you need to know what you want to achieve from using drones, whether you want a CAD drawing, an auto mosaic, or if you want to just, let's say, generate a point cloud so you can do your drawings from. The biggest problem you have is that when it comes to looking what you want to use the drone for, don't think that it's going to be just solely for marketing. It's going to be solely for just taking one or two photographs. There is other avenues there that you can actually go down and use a lot. So the likes of flying, mapping your site every week, every month is the best thing you'll ever do, because what happens is it tidies up your site. That's one aspect of it. So look to find out what you're going to use your drone for. Now at this stage, don't look at the drone. Just look at what you want to use and what you want to get from it. The drone decision will come later. So get good sound advice. and do your own research. I can't stress this enough. There's so many people out there that think they're drone experts. They've got some type of experience with drones. Remember, drones are a very, very early stage of the industry. They're very early stages. Even though they've been around for, let's say, 5, 6 years, 10 years, whatever the case it is, they're very, very early right now. So get good sound advice. As I said to you, don't just take someone's word for it, do your own research. The rules and regulations. So Europe rules and regulations have been brought in, and we used to have our own SOPs and PCCs. That's gone, right? They're gone. So at the moment, what's happened is there's a transition period from the old IA rules moving into the new EASA rules. So there's different categories involved in that. So you've got the open, specific, and then you've got the certified category. So each one of those have its own rules and regulations and their own restrictions, and in relation to the drone weight and the drone category, that's what they fit into. So you need to know where you're going to fit inside those rules and regulations, as opposed to just buying a drone. So you now have to look at what you want to do with it. Get good advice, do your own research, check it all out, get your rules and regulations, understand what is involved. The next thing after that then is essentially the 3 different categories. The next one is airspace. So this country is covered with controlled airspace, uncontrolled airspace, and it's also got restricted and danger areas. So when it comes to airspace, Dublin City Centre as a whole is covered with controlled airspace. Cork is the same, Limerick is the same, so Knock, Shannon, Knock, Kerry, Donegal, and Sligo and Waterford. They're all controlled airspaces. In order for you to fly inside those areas, there's certain rules and regulations that you must follow in order to be able to get permission to fly inside those. You can also then at any stage be refused permission. So because of that, then you may not get what you want to get. But if you understand the rules and regulations about flying inside controlled airspace, none of that is going to be a problem. You'll be able to do all that. Okay. The other side that everyone keeps coming about is data protection and GDPR. Now, look, as I always say, GDPR and data protection, it works both ways. It's not just one way. So it'll never be just, let's say, the individual coming up to you and saying, hey, what are you doing taking a picture of me? Who gave you right permission to take a picture of you? There's a two-way stream with data protection. Just on GDPR, you should definitely, you're not, during the courses, during the drone instructor courses, or the training courses, we only touch on data protection. We only touch on GDPR. Realistically, you should go down the road of, let's say, having proper legal advice when it comes to data protection and GDPR. Okay. So the different categories that we're actually dealing with at the moment is open category, and that's got a subdivided inside the A1, A3. This course is done online, right? So you need to do this course. So any drone that you have, you must do this online. So if the drone has a camera and has the ability to capture data, inside the new EASA rules, it clearly states that you must have that drone registered. Now, you're registering yourself more so than you're registering the drone. So once you do that, the A1, A3 category course is free. It's online, it's free. It's €30 to register your drone, and then after that you go and you do your A1, A3. Then if you want to fly closer to people, as in within 5 meters of people, you need to use the A2 category. Again, that needs to be done through the schools, the training schools and training environments, okay? The specific category is a little bit more detailed. This allows all drone operations that are not covered by the open category. The open category at the moment is seen to be like along the hobbyist end of things, whereas the specific category is more along the lines of commercial operators and organizations, yeah? So you need to generate a SORA, which is a standard operating risk assessment. You need to do a concept of operations. You write an operations manual. Just on the operations manual, our old procedure used to be what we call an SOP/PCC, which was specific operating permission, pilot competency cert. And that was mainly heavily based with an operations manual. The new specific category, right, which is completely different to the way it was previously. Now the SORA is the more heavy document. It's a very detailed document. The concept of operations kind of marries the risk assessment, the specific operating risk assessment, and the operations manual basically puts there all your drone operators that they have complied with all the training requirements, that they've done all the courses, and they all have a flight exam. That's what the operations manual is. It's a little bit less than what it was previously. It's not as The specific category is now no longer heavily based with the operations manual. It's more heavily based with the SORA and the concept of operations. When you've that done, the next thing you then do is you apply for your operations authorization, an operation authorization or an operation declaration. You apply to the Irish Aviation Authority. They will review your documents, and once they see fit that the drone operation that you're looking to get permission to operate on, they will issue you the license. If they feel that you're not meeting the criteria, that if they feel that, okay, you've written everything, but there's this paragraph that we're not sure of, they will reply back and say, can you just check paragraph such and such and rewrite it in such a manner? And then you just go ahead and you do that and you resubmit your documentation, then they give it to you. There is a fee for all of this, obviously. So on the next slideshow, I'll talk about that. Okay, so then at the moment, there's a lot of talk in the press with this LUC, as in the Light Unmanned Certificate. MANA received theirs first very recently. This is a very, what's the word? A great approval to get. You know what I mean? You're very high standard. So with the Light Unmanned Certificate, it allows you to have your own operational authorizations cleared by yourself. So you write everything, and you then go ahead and just complete your operations. It's a high level of approval that drone operators will be looking to get. Okay. Now, there's one thing I've noticed over the years of speaking to people, and it's the hidden extras. The hidden extras are the ones that's actually going to get you caught out. So insurance is one thing that you should have, okay? And I really mean that. Not just insurance for, let's say, the likes of your public liability insurance, your third-party insurance. You should have insurance for the drone in the air. So if the drone crashes or hits something or falls out of the sky and lands and smashes in let's say, a field, at least that way the drone is insured and you can actually reclaim the value of the drone. So insurance is a major thing. IA fees, they're straightforward enough. The registration fee is €30. You've got the A2 application fee, which is €45. You then got inside the specific category, for every operational authorization, it's going to cost you €296 for that. Now, this is just approximate price is for the Light Unmanned Certificate. It's about 2,500, roughly thereabouts. It's a lot of money, but it gives you a lot of play and scope that you can do really, really high-end operations inside a specific category. Now, this is another thing. If you decide to go down the road of the Phantom 4 Pro RTK, and that drone is the one that most people use in the mapping and the construction industry. So there is a subscription required for us, because we're Leica dealers. Yeah, we can sell you a SmartNet license, and you can connect to your N-Trip, and your accuracies then of your drone gets become more accurate. So you got the likes of the Phantom 4 Pro RTK, your subscription, you dial that in, and as you're flying, the corrections are being sent to the drone, and then you just apply those corrections in your photogrammetry software. Your photogrammetry software can be anywhere between €260 a month to €18,000 a year. Depends on what software you're looking for. So you got the likes of Pix4D Mapper. We're also resellers of Pix4D Mapper. Sales pitch, just throwing it in there. We are also resellers of Pix4D, Mapper, Cloud Survey, and Cloud Advanced. These all have different applications. Again, it comes back down to what you want to achieve. What do you want to do? And then you've got the Metashape, and then you got your Bentley. Okay, I want to just kick into the types of drones now that we're talking about. So when you decide what you want to do with the drones, okay, now you should be looking at the drone itself, because there's a few things there. One of them is what type of drone. Is it going to be a multi-rotor? This is more popular than any other drone out there at the moment. So this one is ease of use. Everybody takes it out of the box. It's a plug-and-play toy. They take it out and they just put it in the air and they start using it. Now, the amount of people that I've come across that say they know how to fly a drone, and then when you stand beside them to do the flight exam, they have no clue. So what you need to do is you need to tweak them. So instead of actually, let's say, saying to somebody, listen, go away, come back to me, there and then I normally tweak them and make them a better pilot. So everybody can take a drone out of a box. Everybody can put the batteries in, and everybody can put the drone in the air. It's what you do after that. What we do is we teach logic. Drone logic, as in words, when the drone goes up, what happens? What is happening to motors? What's happening to the payload? And what's happening to the batteries inside? So that's the best approach to training people on drones. the multi-rotor has got there's so many different multi-rotors at the moment. A lot of people have a tendency to go down the road of, do you know what, I've seen a Mavic Air, that's going to do us a great job. But the problem with the Mavic Air is that its ability for the camera, as in the sensor, may not be able to achieve what you want to achieve at your initial stages. So you went down the road and saying, right, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do marketing. And then all of a sudden you're kind of going, okay, let's go down the road of a Mavic 2 Pro. The Mavic 2 Pro is a great drone. It's got a 1-inch sensor and it's got a 20 megapixel resolution. Yeah, for the photographs. Yes, and can it be doing mapping? Yes, we can, but we need to add something else to it. So now you're actually adding the likes of a ground control point, and that now is an extra cost. So instead of actually saying, right, what we want to do is this, we want the drone that can actually fly, and it's going to be very effective, and it's going to be very cost effective for us. So the likelihood of a Mavic 2 Pro won't fit into that remit. So you need to say, we're going to go out and we're going to purchase the Phantom 4 Pro RTK. So the multi-rotors are the most popular. Then you have the fixed wings. These are for larger sites. So at the end of the day, like the reason I put up an EB, right? They're the enemy, but we'll talk about that at a different stage, right? So the EB is a very, very good aircraft. I'm not joking with you. I love the EB. It's a very, very solid aircraft. It's got safety features that are really, really good. It's very well designed. What I didn't like about the EB at the early stages was called the drunken EB effect, whereas once it's flying through the air, it's very, very light and gets bounced all over the place. So, but it's still a very, very good, effective aircraft. So that's designed for covering large sites. There's no doubt about that. Multi-rotor won't do it because the battery time is not the same as the EB flight single flight time. That said, the new M300, which you're viewing right there with the P1 sensor, has got a rough flight time of about 45 minutes. That supersedes any other drone that's DJI have made at the moment. So this is the creme de la creme for DJI, the Matrice 300 with the RTK feature and also the P1 sensor. The P1 sensor is a full frame sensor. It's a really high end. So if you're looking to say to yourself, okay, we want really high end resolution photographs, we want to fly at 120 meters, we want to capture a lot of detail, that's the one for you. The difference between the multi-rotor and the fixed wing is you need kind of like a landing strip for the fixed wing. You don't technically need a landing strip for the multi-rotor. She goes up to where she is and she comes straight back down. The fixed wing has to come in at an angle. Now, even though the angle is very steep, you still have to have at least 50 meters by 50 meters at a minimum. The multi-rotor can take off and land inside the construction site very, very easily, whereas you cannot take off and land inside a construction site with a fixed wing. Fixed wing, technically speaking, not good for you, okay? Then we have a VTOL. Now, this is kind of like also for tight, large sites. So this is the Flytech Boardie. This is a really, really good drone. This carries a full frame camera, which is 45 megapixels. So you can fly at 120 meters and you get really good data from it. She flies steady through the air. So that's what I like about it. But the beauty about this one, it's a vertical takeoff. So she takes off straight up like a multi-rotor, transitions into a plane and flies and maps large areas. So you're kind of saying to yourself, okay, right, that's exactly what we need. And then she comes back and she lands. Now, I have great experience of all these three aircrafts. I like every single one of them. But with the VTOL, there's something unique about it going up, transition into a fixed wing, and then disappearing into the horizon. And I don't mean that, but you know what I mean? You come back and you collect it, and she comes back into land. Remember, visual in the sight at all times. That's most important. Okay, so that's roughly the type of drone that you're looking for. Now, as I say to you, you may not be willing to spend money on the drones because each one of these is quite, I won't say expensive, but they have a lot of money behind them. So you need to say to yourself, okay, what are we going to spend straight out? Don't go cheap. I can't stress that enough. So when you are looking to do this whole drones in your construction site, you need to go in, all in and fully commit. So training is the most important factor here. It's that simple. Training is in my book, very, very important, because what happens is a lot of people go down the road of training and they just go, yeah, we'll get the training, we get the course done, the 2-day ground school course, that's fantastic. And then we go off and we get a flight exam and then we're quite content with that. And then, do you need actual flight training? No, we're okay, thanks very much. And that's where companies let themselves down, right? There's no point in you just getting half the product. Go all in. Commit yourself and say, right, let's go down the road of training. Now, I know that's kind of a sales pitch, and I know it's come from school and that's everything else. But no, deep down in my heart, I really believe training is so important. A lot of people let themselves down with training, okay? So the 2-day ground school is something that we offer. The flight training we then offer, and then the flight exam. Now, I cannot stress this enough. The flight training, that there is the core ability for you to be able to fly safe, okay? You can get all the instruction you need inside the ground school. You can get all the instruction you need about how to write a SORA, how to write a concept of operations. That's all documentation. That's it. If you cannot fly through these 2 tums, there's no point in you doing any of the other stuff. So training is most important. It'll open your eyes up to what you can and what you can't achieve. Not just that. So you've originally designed you designed your whole business plan around you bringing drones into the construction industry by saying, right, we're going to do marketing. If you go away and get proper training, because you're going to need training to get the license and everything else, that's where you'll open up your eyes. Because what'll happen is there's the ability for you to do other things and to see other features that you're allowed for. In a construction company that we deal with is Glenveagh. Their pilot is Suave. He is an amazing pilot. He's one of the best in the country as far as I'm concerned. They have went from no drones to having a shed load of drones. I prefer to use the word shed load. That way it doesn't give any secrets out. So they have a load of drones and they're using them very, very effectively. Every week they're flying sites. They're doing progress reports. They're doing volume calculations. They've bought Pix4D software. They're quantifying everything. And the beauty about this is they brought it into the health and safety, right? So the drones are being utilized in health and safety, not just in marketing. And Suave came to me and he said to me, listen, I want to use a drone for marketing. And I said, you can do a lot more than that. So with that, he went away, listened to what it was. He got a sound advice from sound people. He understood it. I showed him demonstrations. I gave him documentation to back up everything that I was saying, and it made sense. So they're now very much active with drones in every single one of their sites. So he's bought a 300 recently, an M300 recently, and he's using it for a different aspect that he originally started buying drones for the construction the construction sites. So this is what happens. If you don't really understand what you want to use your drone for, this is where the waters get muddled, and you go down the road of, I'll go and buy a drone. Now all of a sudden the drone that you bought doesn't really fit to what you're looking to do. So before you buy anything, get sound advice. It's most important. Support is the next thing that we offer. Now, I know I'm doing a sales pitch here. Yeah, I humbly apologize for that. But what happens here is this. A lot of people flying drones that decided not to go down the road of the flight training, they come up with issues. So the issues is, well, look, we bought the drone off you, and yeah, you know, I know we didn't go down the flight training mode, but can you help us out? Of course we can. We'll always help out anybody that gives a phone call. And the most thing that you have with drones is the updates and the maintenance. A lot of people don't really understand that the drone gets updates it randomly gets updates, and there's nothing you can do about it. The drone just comes up, you buy a DJI release a new update, because most people are buying DJIs these days. They buy an update, and sorry, the update comes in, and you have no choice but to update the drone. So sometimes computers have security features on them that they can't update the drone. So what we do is we say, right, okay, if you want your drone update, just bring it onto the office and we'll just connect it to our computer and we'll update it, and we'll end up giving you the most up-to-date version of your drone that you have. Maintenance. A lot of people who are actually flying drones for long times, there's a certain amount of hours that you need to swap out your engines, you need to swap out your propellers. You need to send it off for an actual check, and that's the best thing that you can do. We also offer all that type of support. If you're stuck on a site and your drone doesn't connect and you're not fully sure as to what's going on, give me a call. I can definitely sort that out for you. It's straightforward enough stuff. It's not that it's obvious. It's just straightforward. The other side of it is then with support, it's how do I fly this site? I'm after doing a flight mission and it doesn't seem to respond in this manner. Can you have a look at it? So sometimes people might send their photographs to us. We'll have a quick look at their photogrammetry, see what way it is, and then I'll give them advice on how to fly for future missions. Knowledge of your industry is the most important thing that anyone who's offering support should have. If you have somebody that's literally doesn't fully understand your industry, they're just going to give you information. They're not going to give you the correct information. It's important that you, at all times, look for the correct information. And this comes back down to the company that you're dealing with. Get to know their history, get to know what they've done, see what they've done, check out their background. It's most important. Look, for me, we'll always offer support. We're always at the end of the phone. If you need us, just give us a call. There's no issues. We can talk you through anything. And anyone that knows me out there all knows that I like talking. All right. So yeah, just give it a shout. Training and support is not expensive. It makes more sense for you to spend money on these two things. But the simple fact is they're going to get you out of a hole and they're going to be more effective. As I have always said, live job training or in-job training is not the same as actual practical training. If you want to learn how to train properly, you cannot do it on a live job. You have to allow time for your staff to go away and get properly trained. Don't cut corners on training and don't cut costs on support. As far as I'm concerned, they're the two things that will actually keep your drone afloat and keep you going in construction with drones. Okay. Thank you for your attention. Vinny, I hope I didn't overrun my time there.
Well, thanks for that, Wayne. You were just saying how much you enjoyed talking, and I was going to use that as my cue to say we might have to start the Oscars music there and get you off the stage. Thanks very much for that. Very, very useful. And I know people who've trained under and got support from and got help from Wayne, and he comes highly recommended. Question here from Collen Doyle. I don't know if you can see the text questions there, Wayne, but I'll call it out for you anyway.
Let me see. How do I stop sharing? Is that yeah? Okay, yeah, grand,
it's down there in the text. One second now. So,
here's Collen Doyle, is it?
Yeah, and Colin is asking the transition to EASA regulations. Is that something that existing SOP holders need to act on currently, i.e., continue to operate under? Yeah,
Colin, how are you? I know you. I trained you previously. Yeah, that's bang on. So look, here's the thing with the new transition. There's nothing in place just yet for the SOP holders that are existing, right? So I spoke to the Irish Aviation about this, and they've clearly said that anyone that has the course previously done must come ahead and do the new course with the new specific the new specific category. But the simple fact is, you're moving from one old system into a brand new system. Now, there is a crossover on some of the lectures, right? So in other words, the likes of airspace is still covered. The likes of navigation is still covered. There is still some crossover, but there's so many more new lectures in it. So you have no choice but at the moment to transition from the SOP, because you're a specific operating permission at the moment, and you're moving into the new EASA specific category. Because you're an organization, that's where you sit. And the open category, as I said to you, is there's at the moment there's talk of a geographical zones being implemented, and that's got to do with the A2 and the open category, that they're going to allow a certain amount of open category operators to be able to fly inside controlled airspace. But as it sits, as a whole, you guys, because you're flying by nature over uninvolved people, your risk factor is quite high. You have no choice but to go into the actual specific category. So at the moment, you're going to have to make that transition. They've extended out the SOP and the PCC till the end of August. So you still have time whilst you're operating during this year only. So the SI 563 of 2015 is still in place. So anybody that is an existing holder, they can still operate all the way through till their license expires. When their license expires, they have no choice but to jump into the new category. By January 2022, everybody will be in the new EASA rules category. Hope that answers your question, Colin.
Great stuff. Thanks, Wayne. I have a quick one for you. If you what I'm curious about there is, are you seeing a big increase in the main contractors and the developers and those guys coming to you to train up their own teams on drones, where they previously would have engaged a third party to fly them?
Yes, correct. Yes, that does happen a lot. What happens is, like, I suppose when I first started out in the construction, in the survey industry with Murphy's, we were primarily just doing drone operations all the time. And now, even though Murphy's are still quite busy and they're still doing their thing with the drones and they're quite successful, let's be honest. At the end of the day, there is still some organizations coming and saying, listen, we want to be able to do, as I said to you, the marketing photographs, and that's all we want to do. Yeah. And then after a while, they start reading. People who fly drones get interested in the likes of articles, drone articles, it's all that type of stuff. And so then they start reading, and then they go, listen, I'm after seeing that that you can do a 3D model of that. Can you show us how to do all that? So we go, yeah, we can. So yes, it is the answer where they start bringing it in-house.
Yeah.
Now, but the issue with this, Vinny, and I keep saying this, is when people bring this into their actual the department, right? They have to have the qualified people behind them.
Of course.
You can't, let's say, you cannot just come in and say, do you know what, I'm actually going to be a surveyor now today and go flying drones and getting. You cannot do that. You have to have qualified people behind you before you can start flying drones. Drones will not take over the person. The person will still have to be on the ground with a handheld GPS. And has to have the qualification behind them in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
People are going down that road, but they need to understand when you're generating a drone team, it's not just one person. All right. You need to have redundancies in every aspect. And just a single point failure for all drone operations is the human being. All right. So you need to have him upskilled and get him very well experienced before you can actually kill that single point failure. Great
stuff. Thank you very much, Wayne. Appreciate that.
Awesome, Vinny.
Good stuff. Our next speaker now is Kim Gersvang from NCC. NCC have 15,000 people employed. They're involved in some huge construction projects and civils projects all across the Nordics. And one of their big flagship projects is actually building the Finnish HQ for Trimble, which is sure to be one of them using all the latest technologies. And yeah, I'll hand over to Kim now. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for having me. I will just share my screen. There we go. Okay, so NCC as a whole, Nordic construction company. In 2020, we had 14,500 people across the 4 Nordic countries. My screen is sharing probably, right?
Yeah, your screen's good.
Yeah.
Our total sales in 2020 was 54 billion Swedish krona, which is round about 5.32 billion euros. Not bad. We have 5 specialized business areas in 3 our businesses, which is industry, which is all roads and quarries and everything like that. We have all our contracting, which is pretty much all the normal building infrastructure works, everything. And then we have our property development, which you probably all know what do. Specifically in our my small department, which is a civil engineering Denmark, we have 2 main business units, and it's infrastructure, which is district heating, water, climate change, preparing for climate change, all kinds of energy. We do, and then there's our concrete or civil works department, which I do most of my work in, is all kinds of concrete, like this beautiful school district here on the right, all kinds of basins for fresh water, construction pits, and this one is in the middle of the harbor. All kinds of things. We do a lot. So we got started with drones in 2015. It was my good colleague who saw an opening because he was sick of paying the bill for the small propeller airplane that came over the sites in 200 meters and took a small picture, and he paid a fortune for that. So he went to the boss of the site and asked, maybe we should buy a drone and take over this ourselves. So those 2 pictures on the right is actually from his presentation for after he purchased the drone, and when they started doing works. So what they were doing as a very low bar, they were 5 minutes before their meeting, they sent up the drone and took a picture, and then they printed it in a small A3, and then they brought it to the meeting. And already there, it was huge value, because having a straight out picture of how reality looks 5 minutes ago before you go into the meeting is is the best. So from a purely cost-saving perspective, they already won with the drones. So slowly we realized that there was a huge potential in working with these drones. And one of the first things we bought was the Pix4D, which is a great tool, and we still use it. And we started buying more drones. We started out with a Phantom, DJI Phantom 3, which is old by now, and we went on to buy Phantom 4 Pros, which is still one of our main workhorses. And we started doing all our quarries, all our industry divisions, all asphalt and all components you need for that. And we started doing pretty much all new larger building sites that are not in like very restrictive areas, so like next to helipads in the city and stuff like that. And over the years, we lost a few employees not long ago, so I'm not sure if we still have 20, but we at least have 15 in Denmark and many more in the Nordics. And then what we had was fairly accurate within one flight. So we had the accuracy of measuring our stockpiles and everything in good internal quality. Like we had a 2%, I think, volume. What's it called? Inaccuracy. So how do we get this better? We want to see how our sites develop. We want to measure the everything basically. So how do we do that? We upscale. We start buying GNSS rows to put down ground control points. And for those who don't know what a ground control point is, it's just a known location in the world that the drone can take a picture of, and then we have that interconnect between the drone's location and its location in the real world. And we started buying even better drones. And specifically for our spotlight today, which is a fancy new hospital in the northern part of Zealand. We went out, we can take some numbers first. It's a 600 million euro project, 120-ish square meters, 570 patient rooms, and a total of 4,000 rooms with all the technical rooms and laboratories and everything. I'm not gonna try saying that name of the Swiss architect, but they did a collaboration with the Danish architect team, and we won the bid in mid-2019. It's gonna continue for 4 more years, or three more years, until it's done with the fit out stage. So for our, let's see if this will start. No, never mind. We had a goal on the hospital, and it was to improve our accuracy as best possible. And we wanted to do frequent flights because we know we have a much better hand in the negotiations if we have more data than the others. So what we went out and did is that we bought the very same drone that Wayne was telling you about, the Phantom 4 RTK, which is probably one of the best low-cost drones you can buy, basically. And we went out and bought a subscription also to Wayne's competitor, which is Triple Stratus using the propeller platform. And we fly what is called PPK, which is post-process kinematics, which upscales the GPS quality, basically, of the pictures, makes for much more accurate measuring and surveying. And we fly every week, at least once a week. And because we know the more we have, the better joint venture with one of the bigger earth movers in Denmark called Varslund, which are known to be a bit cheeky sometimes. So the more the better. When we started on the site, this is a picture from Friday, I think. And you can see there's already about 15 measurements on site from that survey. When we started, we actually haven't sold the product to the site. We just bet on that they would actually want to buy it. And so there was little to no interest in the beginning. It was pretty much us starting to collect the data. And the first one to move on it was the surveyors, because they run around out there all day. And if they can go in and get an somewhat accurate reading in the program, instead of having to wander all 700 meters to the other end of the site, then they would do that. Today we have 70 daily users just in our own organization, and then we sold basically to both our subcontractors and to the building owner. And so I saw statistics the other day that we had more than 3,000 unique logins in the last 6 months. So we have a lot of activity. They pretty much use it every day. I can't walk through the office without seeing it open on at least a few screens, just because they are checking something, they're doing a small measurement for something, or checking an area for how much they need to order for next week, or everything like that. I print out every month pretty much 4-meter panorama of the site. They use both as decoration and as a planning tool in the main area. We use the propeller platform, and in this platform we get this auto photos, which is amazing for planning. And we can put in overlays we use actual models. We export to CAD and DXFs, and we upload these, and they get put in the correct system, and they can measure directly on them. They can see the progress. They can do everything. We can do mass haul comparisons to see how much have moved since last week. So far, the only limitations we run into is rules and regulations. It's been a complicated start to the year, I would say, and we are eagerly awaiting the new drones that's going to come from DJI with the CE marking, and we are waiting a little because we want to buy the exact drone Wayne was talking about the Matrice 300, because it is both a super high quality camera and it's slightly more weatherproof than our. And if we went all in, we would buy it with the L1 LiDAR solution, so we can see through the vegetation, because whenever we come on site and there's green all over, we can actually see the real surface. We can only see all the planting. And one of our main issues always is not enough data. That I would actually like to fly every day. So I'm hoping sometimes I will get my wishful thinking is that I sit in the office and I dot this yellow, I'll call it a square, on the computer screen, and I say fly, and it goes up to map that specific area because they just finished digging, for example. Because when I come once a week and fly, then they already dug out and fill it back up, so I don't have the measurement. So I want more. I would prefer it if it was a local pilot that did the flight, so I don't have to drive around all the country. Yeah, and of course more pilots, because we need more pilots. And then, is there any questions?
Thank you very much, Kim. That's that is fascinating. That is quite a huge project you have on your hands there with the hospital.
It is.
Good work. There is one question there in the chat from Stephen. 1 second. Yeah, Stephen is asking, what are the major benefits with the increased accuracy?
The increased accuracy. So when we used the old version of the Phantom without the RTK, we would have an accuracy that was within plus minus 4 inches or 10 centimeters, something like that. And it would so it's perfectly all right, and it's a relative accuracy. So it's basically everything is perfect in relation to 2 points on the map, but if you go to relate to a previous survey, it may shift 10 centimeters. So with the new one, we get an accuracy below 2 inches or 5 centimeters, which is, so that's basically, I wouldn't say 100% increased accuracy in those, but now we can start comparing from week to week, and we are much more confident in results, and it's I think even the surveyor, I think the only time he thought there was a mistake is because he misread the millimeters as centimeters, so he thought there was a 40 centimeter inaccuracy compared to his measurement.
That would correspond with what Wayne said, that if there is a problem, it's usually the human. Not the technology. So that's good to know.
So that he can when he can trust that he's, even before he goes out with his row or his total station, he knows where he should be. Yeah, that's very nice.
Good. And from Alan there is he's asking how the drone behaves in poor weather, and he's asking, would it make sense for appropriate sites to have a drone in position every day monitoring progress? Can drones and fixed cameras work together? And do we need both? It's a bit in that.
Drones in poor weather is a huge challenge, because even though a drone can actually fly in the rain, if you get water on the lens, your pictures are being distorted and you can't rely on the thing. And also wind is also an issue, because they aren't stable enough, and if they're not stable enough, the camera is shaking or something is shaking and it's not getting accurate photos. And to have a drone on site every day, I would prefer it. but it's there's no, so as far as I know, there's no like a stationary drone service that you can or a drone that lands by itself and charges or changes battery or something like that.
Yeah, you still have to have the pilot there, and I guess that's going to come down to a return on investment. But you'd imagine on a project that big, as it gets more detailed, you probably will end up with more regular flights than your current weekly flights. That'd be right.
So far, I have 60 something flights since the 1st of January last year.
Yeah.
So there's only a few like over Christmas, and that's pretty much the only time I didn't fly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you can imagine where that would become much more regular as there's more to look at. And can drones and fixed cameras work together? And do we need both? I might chime in there that yes, they can work well together. And do we need both? Absolutely. They do quite a different job. And we regularly, say from Evercam construction cameras point of view, we don't suggest that our cameras should replace drones, and we don't suggest that drones should come in and replace ourselves. That there's a role for the always on camera that will tell you how many trucks have come out, and there's a role for the drone that will tell you the volumetrics of where you're at now, and these things need to add up. And a lot of our customers then who would have large linear projects in roads and rail and that, where fixed position camera might not be practical for the long jobs, but they would have the fixed position camera wherever the base is and the vehicles and everything is in and out, and then the drone is going up regularly and covering linear. Definitely a place for both. That is all good. Any more questions there? I think Kim is staying with us if there's any added at the end. And I think Wayne has sent his apologies. He's gone off to start another training session. So thanks, Kim. Our next speaker is Stephen Foley, who's from Collen Construction, the head of the bid department. And he's going to talk about the practical adoption of drones as a main contractor. Yeah, all of us in Ireland will be well familiar with Collen and their jobs, both here and increasingly, I think, around the Nordics and that as well, and loads of data center work and all sorts of new stuff. Anyhow, I'll hand you over to Stephen, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Vinny. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Wayne. Great presentations. Feel a bit out of my depth here, guys, because I'm not a drone expert, but I'll give you the Collen spin on it and how we're doing it at the moment and where we started from. So yeah, I'll just give you a brief introduction to what I'm going to talk about, and then we'll get on with it. Okay. All right. So I'm reading that. So that's me. Look, a background, wide, varied background, over 20 years of experience. I've always had an interest in emerging technology and how it can drive, safety, productivity, environmental compliance, that kind of stuff. And that's why I'm here today to talk about what we do. Collen ourselves, we're 210 years old. Good reputation in the country for quality, work towards excellence at all times. We're a main contractor, design and build partner, and joint venture partner. Our teams are our most valuable resource by any stretch, as most of the guys here would agree, I'm sure. Our ethos is to provide quality service and forge long-lasting relationships. And we do have a lot of repeat clients on the back of that, and indeed repeat supply chain partners. We have that kind of long-term approach. Our mission is to deliver projects safely, on time and on budget to the highest standard that we can, and we always strive to exceed our clients' expectations on our projects. Where we work at the moment, obviously we have our base in Ireland in Dublin, and we have recently ventured to the west to Galway, and we're just getting going over there, being led by Liam Flynn. We're in Germany, in Frankfurt at the moment, working with a large data client, and we're in Sweden with a number of large data clients. None of which, as I'm sure you are all aware, I can talk about because all that work is confidential. Basically, our team is about 350 people at the moment, led with a small core team of directors and senior management, and we're ever growing. I think we're actually at about 367 at the moment, but that's probably the most recent slide that we have. We carry all the usual accreditations. ISO 45001, we were one of the first in the world to get that one. It was a new standard introduced a couple of years ago. And then we carry the usual 9001, 14001, and in the past 2 years, 50001 energy management. something we're really proud of and I'm very happy with ourselves about at the moment is the recent accreditation 27001, which is massively important, strategically speaking, for our data clients. So quality, quality, quality all the way. We've won our few awards in regards to our safety systems, and we always maintain our level A safety certification with CF. Again, we've won a few awards over the past few years, some that really stand out to us. One that I would mention here is the Innovation in Safety and Health Products and Services. Our BIM manager, Ray Coote, based his masters on a sort of a BIM three-dimensional based virtual site induction process, and he won an award for it there recently, which is very exciting for us all. And we're now rolling that out on our jobs. Yeah, so it's interesting. One last little thing to mention is that we recently got 7th place in the best employer in Ireland, which we're absolutely chuffed about. And as an employee of Collen, I can tell you it's all true. It's not bluster. It's a great place to work. So I'll get on with the good stuff now that we're here to talk about. Drones in sales and marketing. So I'm starting from here because this is where we started our drone journey. We ended up, looking at, all of the things, social media posts, and some of our competitors were using drones to kind of sell their wares as such. And that's where we started our journey. And Vinny, you're aware we use stationary cameras as well, and we use them to great effect, and particularly with that piece around volumes of muck away off site, that kind of stuff with trucks and control and that. So that's been very useful to us in certain situations. So that there's definitely a place for both. I would just wanted to make that point there. Now they do two very different things. So yeah, we started our use of drones regularly in 2016, and we started kind of with using it to showcase the time lapse and time lapses of ongoing and completed projects. Then also we would use the photography from it for marketing and communications purposes. So I mean that building you see there is one South County, which is a very high profile project, challenging project, but we're very proud of it, and it shows up very well when you see it from that kind of an angle. One of the things that really started to stand out with us quickly was that the use of drone footage and indeed stop motion stationary cameras was very much impacting our hits with our social media. It really improved things for us. I think it's the age old sort of a video or a picture paints 1,000 words, rather than a big long description. So I mean, it definitely is something that we have incorporated and embedded in our marketing strategy moving forward. And we get raw video files in our own team here, edit them, and clean them up and brand them and stuff. So yeah, we're very happy with how it's going. But obviously, we have a few tech heads in the business, myself included, and we saw more opportunities to look at it. And sorry, just to give you a quick flavour, I'm not going to play this whole thing now, but this is for scanning shopping centre. We want to show the complexity of the size to clients and all the houses around.
Sorry, Stephen, the volume is very high on that. It's a bit hard to hear you over it. You might be able to turn down the volume on the video a little bit.
Just kill that now. Yeah, I was afraid something like that would happen, but anyway, that's an example of sorry about that, Vinny.
I know the video is good. It's just the volume on the volume on the.
No worries. Yeah. So I suppose the long and short of it is, let me just see if that's going to work better. Any better?
It's grand if you're not trying to talk over it. We can't hear both, but if you want to play it away there, we can hear. We can see it here.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll leave it alone because I have more things I need to talk about. But I mean, inherently, this project, this Frascati shopping centre, and a very complex job. We're building apartments on top of a live shopping centre that we had already extended and refurbished. And you can see the power of the drone footage in this scenario here. It is a very it shows that the job is difficult, logistically difficult and complex, and that communication piece alone for us, with stakeholders, the people in the apartments, to the right of the job there, and the houses behind, it really helped us kind of convey the difficulties that we were dealing with on the job, and actually helped us kind of smooth out some relationship issues that we were having there. On to the next one. One South County in Leopardstown. This is a time lapse that we did, and this is probably a mashed together series of drone footage. So. point there is to show progress and communicate progress with people that aren't necessarily construction orientated, you know, clients that aren't, you know, on the coal face and don't understand. So, you know, there's nothing better than imagery to show that kind of progress there. And, you know, that's what we achieved by using that. And in that scenario there, we effectively did a time lapse by matching together a number of different staged drone flyovers. And, you know, it was a very powerful communication tool. So I think it's, I'll just push on to the next topic now, because I think that sound is probably just very distracting, and it certainly is for me. I suppose use of drones in project reporting and communication. So, you know, yeah, what we are doing at the moment is, you know, once a month or once every 2 weeks, depending on the complexity of the job and the budget sometimes, we are doing a flyover to show progress. And the guys on the site themselves are getting a massive benefit from it, to see, you know, the tangible, you know, progress they're making, and it's kind of a motivational tool for them, but also they're actually using it to adjust access plans and logistics, you know, perhaps aren't working as well as they could do, where they're seeing more space that they mightn't actually see without the aerial view. And that's really helping us a lot. And then another ancillary benefit that we're finding is that it's a great tool for keeping records. And, you know, there was occasionally a query will come up, you know, did that piece of structure go in, or how was that formed? And you can actually go back and show, you know, the engineer, the client's team member that, you know, it's there, you know. And you know, not to make a major thing of it, but I mean, it is something that has solved quite a few problems for us, you know, at the sign off stage on jobs, you know, on a number of different projects for us. You know, you'd be surprised how much queries you get like that. You know, you'd imagine that these things would happen as a matter of course, but yeah, it's proven to be helpful in those types of discussions. I suppose more at my end of the business, the bidding side of it and the proposal side of it, we are starting, you know, you can see they're effectively Google Maps images there, and they're 2D, and we're starting to kind of incorporate three-dimensional imagery now into our bids. And, you know, we're not quite there yet, we're early days with it, but it is heading in that direction. And, you know, we're getting this kind of you know, I suppose overview to clients to kind of let them understand complexity and understand, you know, logistics on the site and how tight a particular job is. And this is what we're doing kind of on a regular basis now for bids. And, you know, I think the introduction of the three-dimensional aerial, I suppose, data will only kind of enhance this to a significant level. It's something that really speaks to clients and speaks to stakeholders. That's something that we are starting to do on a regular basis now as well. I think the terminology from my BIM team is that this 3D data will then be incorporated into the point cloud and models in the coming months. So we're not quite there yet, but we're heading in that direction. I know other people are already doing this on a regular basis, but for us it's very exciting. Use of drones in project planning and reporting. So I suppose there's a few things happening in this front that we didn't anticipate when we started our drone journey. One of our recent developments with a couple of our major clients, and these are only stock images or internet images. I can't use the actual images, unfortunately, because they're for confidential clients. But these are examples of plant health. So essentially, they're deriving how well, you know, the plant life around a site is doing by analysing the light or the colour of the leaves and foliage. So it is it's something that we're seeing more and more, particularly with our large hyperscale data clients in the Nordics, in Germany, and more recently in Dublin. Yeah, look, it's another aspect to it that we didn't really see coming, and now it's become the norm for some of these big tech giants, which we're very happy about, because we have a big focus on environmental management and, you know, compliance. So that's great. The other thing that we're seeing, you know, which leads into my earlier point about the 3D telemetry, is that we have clients looking for us to provide them with elevational survey data. We're also using it ourselves on jobs at the early stages, particularly design and builds, where we're competitively tendering for design and build to kind of try get angles in respect to cut and fill exercises. Collen aren't really a heavy civils contractor. We're more building, but there's certain aspects of our jobs that have a significant amount of cut and fill going on, and, you know, that's something that's we're starting to see. I suppose we're seeing possibilities, and we're starting to see some benefits in Sweden for sure on that front. So the next steps for us are you know, a few different areas. One of the things we're looking at is safety monitoring. So You know, there's always a stage in a project at the early stages or at the late stages when it's difficult to access certain areas that perhaps aren't designed to be accessed on a regular basis. So there's the concept of maybe doing remote inspections using drones. It really arose for us during COVID. Some of our guys were toying with the idea of maybe getting an operator on site to kind of just inspect things to make sure that things were in order after bad weather and stuff like that. So we started doing it, you know, on a couple of jobs that were kind of in flux, you know, when the first lockdown happened. You know, and it certainly allowed us to spot certain problems and send out crews to solve those problems. You know, like, you know, loose materials on roofs, that kind of stuff, floods near railway lines, that kind of stuff. You know. I suppose the other thing is, you know, we don't want to be putting our staff at risk. And, you know, again, at my end of the business, we do tend to go out to jobs, you know, old buildings sometimes. And, you know, you have to climb up onto a roof occasionally to look at it. And you don't really know what you're standing on. And you can't always get a guarantee of what you're standing on is safe. And if we have doubts, we'll bring along a drone, or we call in our drone operators and ask them to, you know, do the flyover first and kind of get in reasonably close and let, you know, you can't be touching and feeling, you know, especially in conservation jobs, that kind of stuff. But at the same time, this is a nice compromise when you're worried about the substrate you're going to be standing on. So that's something we're looking at as well. Not really started doing that yet, but it's coming in the coming months. I suppose the big thing here is that we're seeing an opportunity to reduce risk and protect staff safety, you know, and that's the big thing for us, you know. And we see a lot of opportunity after inclement weather where we get a drone inspection done once the weather is settled down to see what's going on at the high level on our jobs. So that's one of the big things for us, and safety has been such a big focus for all of us. It's an important one. I suppose the other thing is that we are using them. We're starting to use them for condition reporting as well. So again, there's always parts of a job if you're you know, in the city centre where you can't really get to and see what's going on and looking at how buildings interact with each other. So we're kind of using that. We're feeding into the condition survey piece as well. Like maybe not necessarily getting up in a basket and looking at something, but actually getting the drone up there to look at it and seeing what's going on. Again, as mentioned very briefly earlier, the BCAR, the building compliance piece, you know, confirming that work was done, confirming that work was done in the correct sequence. It's something that's come up once or twice in the recent past, and we're definitely seeing a benefit there. You know, we can show a video of the work, you know, physically being done and being poured and or being, you know, fixed in place. That's a massive benefit for us as well. And I suppose quality walkdowns and augmented reality, certainly for us, it's an aspirational thing at the moment. We're not quite there. We've done a bit of it in Dublin Airport already, at sort of at the early stages, you know, sort of pre-work / detection. We used a bit of augmented reality up there, and we found it very useful. You know, we found, you know, in that scenario, we found conveyor belts that had steel columns going through them. So, you know, it does work. So we're trying to look at, you know, how we would incorporate, you know, perhaps drone footage into that whole process and how that would look, you know. And I mean, it's all data. If you can get it into the point cloud, it'll work, you know. And the guys are talking about using the goggles and all to make that happen. So I think it will happen because we have a very strong BIM team and technology / IT team, and they really are all pushing towards that, you know, maximizing the benefit of technologies like these. So that's where we are. We're not quite there. I'm sure there's people maybe on the call that are a bit further along than we are, but that's kind of a practical approach to how, you know, we're using drones in our business. I suppose the one thing that we're doing more recently is the land surveying thing. You know, we're all seeing a massive shortage of surveyors. They're all very, very busy. We can't get the service that we once got, depending on, you know, especially if it's a short notice thing. Engineering, you know, our own engineering teams, it's hard to get engineers. You want to keep them focused on certain things. A lot of them are doing paperwork, a lot of them are doing quality control, middles, don't necessarily have time to be surveying, so you try to outsource it, and then there is a problem with the outsourcing side of things too, because people are so busy. So definitely we're starting to see benefits in some of our Swedish projects for one of our large tech giant clients, in respects to land surveying. And, you know, I was curious about Kim's presentation earlier, because he did mention the accuracy thing, which is one aspect we're working on at the moment. So I might touch base with him again after the call if he doesn't mind. But certainly, you know, we have benefits, and we have used it to demonstrate volumes in a cut and fill exercise, particularly on a job where we were blasting rock and stockpiling it on a job, and, you know, separating out the rock and separating out the subsoil and the topsoil, and identifying the quants, and, you know, what we had to do when we're putting stuff back in to remediate the ground. So there's opportunity in the drone thing, the big thing for us, there's opportunity with drones to significantly reduce technical labor requirements, you know, that are in shortage. Like engineers there's not enough engineers out there at the moment, there's not enough surveyors out there at the moment. So we can do to take a bit of pressure off these people, and, you know, tools that allow them to, I suppose, do more work, produce more work, whilst maintaining accuracy is something that is a massive focus for our team. I'm sure a lot of other people as well. Yeah, so that's probably, you know, the bulk of it done there. I just want to mention one or two people there. Mark Fox from Altitude Drones helped me out with this a lot. Alan, Suzanne, Lenia, and Shannon, CitA, of course, as always, thank you very much. The guys, the fellow presenters, Kim, Wynn, and Vinny, I felt very confident getting involved in this because I'm not a drone expert, because the guys have such a level of knowledge and depth of knowledge. So thanks for that, guys, really appreciate it. From our own team, Orla Sweeney from the marketing team, Willie Loughnane, Simon Clark, Ray Coote, really technical senior people in our business that really helped me with this. And of course, my director, Nick Lunari, who always gets behind me on these things. So look, thanks very much for your time. Happy to field any questions you have there. I hope what you saw today was of relevance to you and have helped you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. That's really interesting from the main contractor's perspective. What fascinates me there is when you broke down the uses, that marketing is a very small part of it. It's important, and it's very often what gets it into the tender document, or what maybe the investors or who the agent or whoever wants to see. But there's a lot of functionality there that is not tied down to marketing, or, you know, it's really data capture, and it's data capture that I think and as you know, Kim mentioned earlier, that you know, getting client buy-in for more use of the drones. I think we're at the point industry-wise where the client buy-in isn't as important, because you're getting enough data yourself that that there is a return on investment for the main contractor, whether or not the client is going to pay for it. As you mentioned there, Stephen, if you can, you know, surveyors are in short supply, inspectors are in short supply. If you can save a few visits, a few man hours, a bit of, you know, do something more safely, less risk, that's the payoff in itself. And of course, you know, everyone loves to get the social media hits and get the bit of marketing collateral as well. There was a question there from Alan, which, one moment. Alan was asking, is anyone aware of the use of remote piloting of drones? One of you guys might know better. My guess would be that it's a regulation thing so far, and that's why they're not being used. Kim?
There's you have to be really high level, like the LUS level that Wayne was talking about, because flying beyond visual line of sight is a huge issue, and you need very specific, you have to plow through a lot of regulations too. I am not aware of any, like, there's one research facility in Denmark that has like a temporary permission to do it in like a tiny area. But other than that, it's hard to do.
It's probably there in the future, but certainly it has to keep it in sight for now. Another question there from Finola. Can you explain or give examples of how you use drones for quality and BCAR compliance?
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for the question. We are using them almost like visual records, you know, of what's going on. And sometimes you can get, there was an issue, I'll give you an example on a job, the job will remain nameless, but there was a query from the design team, was a particular piece of structure installed? So it was a beam over a window. It wasn't a critical piece of structure, but it was a bracing piece of structure. And I suppose there was a big scramble to open up the wall and all this kind of stuff. And the guy said, no, let's take 5 minutes and take a breath and think about this. And we went back over the drone footage, and you can actually see it being lifted in by the crane in the drone footage. And it allows us to resolve that issue. And it was being tied to BCAR. And I suppose it was been tied to as a quality control issue then. And obviously if that hadn't gone in, it would have created a massive break of trust, you know. So being able to do that and resolve that became a hugely powerful thing. So we are starting to incorporate the drone footage into the O&M pack now, or the BCAR pack, the upload if we can. File sizes are obviously large, but that's not a problem necessarily. But it's just, it gives that sort of confirmation. But what we're doing now as a result of that particular issue, because it was a little bit early in our drone journey. It was the drone image that we used was actually a marketing piece. You know, it was a pure coincidence that we're on site that day, and we were lucky. Now we're starting to bring in drones when each level of the floor has been erected, and at certain critical points when the facade starts and when it ends, that kind of stuff, to kind of pick up these milestone points and pick up these parts that get covered up as the work goes through. So that's kind of how we're using it. So it's not providing you with automatic BCAR compliance. It's more evidence to support BCAR compliance and quality control, that kind of stuff. You know, hope that answers the question.
Yep, you're singing off the same hymn sheet as ever, Cam, on that one. It's record everything and have images for everything. You might need to submit them all every time, but when you have the right one that you need, it's a lot cheaper than digging a hole or taking down a wall to prove that something is done or was done correctly. We're close to wrapping things up. If anyone wants to add any questions now, by all means do. There was one thing that was on my mind. Some of you might have come across the Irish company Mana Aero. They have been trialing delivering food and groceries over in Oranmore in Galway, and they've since been licensed to work in some other areas. And that has, and again, like very ambitious company. They've raised loads of money. Really, really good guy behind it, Bobby Healy. That got me thinking that we always talk about drones as cameras in construction. We're always talking about them as surveying tools, cameras, and the data. It's all about producing data, producing images. Like, I wonder how far are we from the drone as a delivery tool of it's not going to be carrying the bricks up there just yet, but little components or little tools or little batteries or whatever might be needed. It seems like that's got to be coming soon. Anyone, any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. It's all about weight and capacity, isn't it? You know, what's sufficient? It's about efficiency, you know, but there's definitely an angle there for small bits and bobs, and you know, I can get more powerful drones that can do that. There's definitely something there, I would say, yeah. But I think we're a little bit away from it, alright, you know.
Yeah. Kim, are we doing that in the Nordics yet?
Nope. But it's still the regulations and the security is a problem, because having all your Amazon packages delivered by multicopter and dropping on your heads, plowing into each other, and it's I think Amazon first suggested it almost 10 years ago, I think, and have been seeking permission ever since. I don't think they're any closer, but I mean, I don't see why it won't be possible, but yeah, I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, I'd say now, given that the construction site can be a restricted area anyhow, that it won't be over the public, I think it might come along a little faster than we think. Okay, great. I don't see more questions there. I might hand over to Alan to announce the next one. A big thanks to our speakers, to Wayne and Stephen and Kim. That's really helpful. Really good presentations, and I'll leave you over to Alan. Thank you.
Thanks, Vinny. Thank you. It was fascinating insight today. Just to thank you, Vinny, for doing a great job on chairing the event today, and to Wayne, and to Kim, and to Stephen for really what I thought were very practical presentations. You know, we weren't necessarily bamboozled by technology, but I learned an awful lot. I suppose quite rightly, there's a lot of regulation behind the use of drones, but the way that Wayne presented, you know, the key things that one needs to be aware of. I was surprised by the costs, but I guess the technology is quite costly, particularly when you build in the training, the licenses, and everything else. But a really, really useful insight there from Wayne. I thought Kim's presentation was excellent as well. I was actually interested in the idea of the fact that you've got certain drones that can see through the vegetation, which is really interesting. Of course, in Ireland we get poor weather a lot of the time, so how effective these drones are in times of poor weather. But you know, it was really, really interesting. Thank you, Kim, and thank you for taking the time. And also to Stephen, your focus was very much, Stephen, on people, which is quite right. But my question was really, I suppose, was the fact that we were finding it hard to find good people, whether it's surveyors or, as you say, good personnel, whether the technology is going to advance to a point where we could get permission to remotely fly these drones on the site. But I thought you gave a really, really useful insight. So thank you everyone for that, and thank you to our delegates for for staying with us this afternoon, and to the CitA team for all the hard work that they do in the background. So we're going to continue on this journey of events into 21. On the 17th of June, I believe, is the next Tech Trend event. It's the kind of the topical issue at the moment, digital twins. And actually, talking about digital twins for a minute, I mean, it seems to me that the development of even drone technology, there's a whole conversation around pairing technologies at the moment. The idea that if you have, for example, a contractor using a variety of technologies, whether it's in design, construction, operations, and that these technologies are effectively paired together, so they work with each other. So whether it's fixed cameras, or whether it's drones, or whether it's BIM, whatever. So it's important that you get that sort of interoperability. But 17th of June,
it's 24th actually, Alan. 24th,
thank you. I think there's another event on, isn't there? DigiCon is on the 17th, 24th of June. Thanks, Suzanne. Yeah. So our next event is going to be next week, and we have this sort of this series on focusing on circular economy with the CIOB, GMIT, and the Irish Green Building Council. And next week's going to be an interesting event because we have a case study of a project in Spain where they adopted the full principles of the circular economy on this project, right through design, construction, driven by a major client. And so you're going to see sustainability in action, and I think that's important because we have lots of people who speak about these things, but the idea that we can actually see this in action, and how the building was designed sympathetic to the environment, how the materials were recycled, there was a particular selection of materials that and so on, and how the building now that is built is a sustainable and a positive contribution to the energy grid in Spain. So we're really looking forward to that. So nothing more to say than thank you. We all of CitA always appreciate the time people take from their busy work schedules, and for the speakers as well. I really learned an awful lot today, and let's keep that going. So good health to all of you, and we hope to see you if you can join us next week on the 3rd. And again on the 24th, and then we'll take a little break over the summer and come back with
with e-commerce the 8th of July, I think.
8th commerce, okay, yeah. And we're obviously building up to the gathering in September, so a lot of work going on in the background there. So thank you so much.
That's great. Thanks, Wayne. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great day the rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes, thanks.
Time. See you, Kim.
Thanks a million. Bye.